Well, welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Shannon Irvin, and it is official. We are taking this podcast to a new height for you, for your business growth, for your expansion, for the generational shift that needs to happen in your family and in your clients' families and beyond. So I am excited to announce to you, my loyal podcast listeners of over 7 years. What? Crazy. That the Now Epic Success podcast will be called Think Seven Figures. We're going to help you think like a 7-figure entrepreneur thinks so that you can become one so much faster. Because I believe it is your God-given calling to get to 7 figures in your business. How can I be so brazen to say that God wants you to get to 7 figures? Here's what I know. When you move and think like a 7-figure entrepreneur about money, about your worth, about your time, about leads, about offers, about sales, about all the levers that make a business scale, then you, my friend, are operating in your most optimum state, and that pleases the Lord. And here is why I know you are called to get to 7 figures. You're called to get to 7 figures because the impact you make for more people means more people see the transformation and get the results that they need. So the more money that you make, the more impact you have, not just on your life and your freedom and your ability to choose, but on the millions and hundreds of thousands of your clients that then get released to do the same. On this podcast, you're going to learn to think 7 figures. So I am your host, Dr. Shannon Irvin. I would love your feedback on the new title. This has been brewing for a while. Look, I am in love with epic success, but here's the thing. What does that mean? Right? And so I really want to see you take your business from the struggling, hustling solopreneur, believing that you need more strategies, more tactics, and more learning to scale your business, which every 7 and 8-figure entrepreneur knows that isn't what moves the needle. That is not the missing piece that made the difference for us to shift to 7 and for my friends at 8 figures to shift to 8. It is the mindset around your business. It is, how do I think about money? How do I think about time? All the things that I mentioned at the top of the hour or top of the call. So I had a live training that I did just a few minutes ago, all around how do you make that shift? How do you shift from the thinking of a struggling entrepreneur so that you stay stuck, income plateaus, entrepreneur glass ceilings, and feeling that frustration, that roadblock when you see others scaling to 6 and scaling to 7 figures in your business and making this huge impact and freedom. And it starts to weigh heavy on you because you start to feel like, is that ever going to happen for me? Will I ever know the right steps to take? Will I ever know the missing pieces? Well, this week's podcast from this live training is going to help shift the game for you in terms of a 7-figure mindset. Here's the greatest news of all. A 7-figure mindset is a skill that you can learn. And that is great news for all of you ambitious entrepreneurs that really want to see this world change, your life create freedom and impact, and really step into your true calling as you think 7 figures. All right, here we go. Let's play the live. Hey, I am going to be breaking down one client of mine that I get to work with, how she grew 320 new clients in just 1 month. So I'm loving that we're talking a lot about like the thinking behind a 7-figure entrepreneur. Like, what is the thinking behind seven figures. So what I want to dive into today is one specific client and how she was able to think like a seven-figure entrepreneur, how she was able to go from 0 clients, no one buying, to over 320 strong qualified leads inside of a container where she's able to nurture them and convert them over to paying clients, because that is the power of what I call think seven figures. It's how do I think, and what are the actions that I take, and what are the decisions I need to make to allow my thinking to think like seven figures so that I become a six-figure entrepreneur, a seven-figure entrepreneur, I make impact. I do believe it is your God-given calling to get to seven figures in your business, even if you're just getting started. Obviously, getting to 5 figures, then 6 figures, but on to 7 figures, because that number represents massive impact. And don't you know that God is about changing lives and helping people become the best versions of themselves, to give him glory, of course. And so I want to shift your thinking, like I did for my client, around thinking like a seven-figure entrepreneur. Because one of the things that I know that 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs absolutely know is that we know that it's not the strategy that will get you to 7 figures. You need a strategy, you need a vehicle, but it's not all the different strategies that make the difference. But what 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs do know is they know, and I know how to think as if it's already completed. And that's one of the things I walked this particular client through. She does keto for women over 50, and she started with absolutely 0. And when you start with absolutely 0, and if that's you, say, I'm just getting started, there is this question mark around your authority, around your authenticity, around who you are in the marketplace. And there's a little bit of self-doubt and a little bit of, imposter syndrome, where you're looking at other people and you're thinking, well, I don't know enough yet. I'm not expert enough yet. So I am going to take it slow, and I'm going to make sure I am perfect before I put anything out there. This is what actually 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs do not do. And so I want to share how to train your brain to think like a 7-figure entrepreneur. How do you become an unleashed entrepreneur and know the things that 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs know, think, do, and be, so that you can get to 6 figures so much faster. So if you're here with me live or you're watching on the replay, tell me in the chat if you're ready to think 7 figures. If you're ready to think like my client, who started out with 0, but yet was able to do things that a 7-figure entrepreneur did, think things that a 7-figure entrepreneur thinks, and take actions that a 7-figure entrepreneur takes, and work against or resist the brain, which is going to tell you, you don't know, you're an imposter, you're not sure. So if that's like, if you're ready to learn how to up level that thinking, I just want you to write the word 7 figures. Ashley's like, let's go, right? So put 7 figures in the chat if you know that you are called to make an impact in this world. If you know without a shadow of a doubt that you were put on this planet to help people, that you were put on this planet to make a difference, that you've got this idea of a side hustle or a business because you know you can help people. This is just like one of my clients who, she had exactly all the same things that keep entrepreneurs stuck at, struggling, hustling solopreneur. She believed she had to work hard and grind and grit to get it done. She believed that she wasn't quite enough yet and needed to learn more and learn more and learn more and learn more to be expert enough. She also believed that she wasn't quite ready to put herself out there, just like me. I used to be that way too. And I'm wondering if that is you, if you find yourself dreaming big, wanting the bigger business, wanting the bigger impact, but you also find yourself looking left and right and feeling like an imposter, feeling like you're not expert enough, feeling the overwhelm of that, and not knowing exactly what step to take, the right step to take to get your business to grow, then just say just like me in the chat. Say just like me in the chat. Because here's the thing, in less than 2 weeks, I was able to help my client shift this one thing that 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs know make all the difference, and that struggling, hustling solopreneurs do not. Because the one thing that I hear over and over again online is I need a new strategy. I must need a new strategy. I've tried this strategy. It didn't work. I must need AI. I must need to do webinars now. Maybe I need to learn about messaging. And we ping pong around, going from strategy to strategy, tactic to tactic, assuming that I'm going to find that perfect strategy and then my business will explode. And the fact is, if you're on an income plateau right now, I just want you to write plateau. So if you're on a plateau where you see the entrepreneurs above you scaling, you see them hitting 6 figures and beyond, you see their growth, but you don't see your growth. You see that plateau. You see, like, you bring in 1 or 2 clients and then they go, and then you're replacing them, and you don't feel like you have a huge, steady, limitless flow of leads into your business like a 7-figure entrepreneur does. And you don't necessarily feel like your offer is just so irresistible that people should line up for it like 7-figure entrepreneurs are. That's a plateau, right? So you're in a plateau place, and it's a shifting that needs to happen. Or you don't have the skyrocketing sales that you see 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs get at. And you know there's this missing piece. You know that they think and act and are very different than where you're at. And so you try to emulate the strategies that they use. You try to do the things that you see them doing, yet it still feels like there's a plateau. There still feels like there's this chain holding you back. And that's exactly what it was for my client, Lily. She was wanting to grow this business so much because if you're just like me, you have this big vision, this big dream, this big calling for your life. And when it goes more slowly than you want, when the income doesn't get there, and what's attached to that income? The freedom, the flexibility, the ability to be wherever you want to be and do that, like to have that freedom of choice, right? So when you feel that restriction as a new entrepreneur or struggling entrepreneur trying to get to that 6 figures and beyond, we look towards 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs and say, what are they doing? But when you talk to 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs, as well as myself, we will tell you it's not about the strategy. So yet struggling entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs spend 90% of their time chasing strategies, expecting one of them to pop and create that limitless income, that limitless opportunity. And I've had the opportunity, brain science is my jam and Jesus is my guy. And so you know that I do a lot of research behind the scenes in my masterminds and places like that. So I talk to thousands of 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs. So I don't just share my experience as a multi 7-figure entrepreneur. I share my experience and the experience of my colleagues who I research through. And one of the key components is how opposite the belief pattern around leads, around offers, around sales, around what makes the lever, the business growth lever move is so vastly different. So like I said, struggling, hustling solopreneurs, new entrepreneurs, they're looking at every strategy, every tactic to be that linchpin thing that makes business growth happen. And there's a reason why so many gurus sell so many strategies, is because they all work. And so if they all work, then it's not the strategy. And so what I know through the research I've done and through my own experience is that the linchpin that got us to seven figures and beyond was how we thought about the business, how we thought about the impact. So I want you to think about this. We call it T-bar. Your thoughts in your mind, in your brain, create the beliefs that you have. And the beliefs, hand down, 100% of those I researched, 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs said belief was the key component, not the strategy. It's belief that allowed them to get past roadblocks, to get past income plateaus, and to scale. So wait a minute. On one side, where you want to be, they're saying it's this belief. And we're going to deep dive into what is it mean to think like seven figures? What does it mean to believe like a seven-figure entrepreneur? Because that's what we're going to do coming up mid-September in a live event. I'm working on it behind the scenes right now. We're calling it the Think Seven Figures Challenge, so you can become an unleashed entrepreneur, where we're going to break down how does that 7 and 8 figure entrepreneur create limitless leads and irresistible offers and skyrocketing sales over and over and over and over again. So like I said, in the research that I've done and in my own personal experience, struggling, hustling solopreneurs and new entrepreneurs consistently chase strategies and tactics, hoping those will be the linchpin that moves the needle. And yet, when I'm over in the 7 and 8 figure rooms, and my experience as well, we will say it is the belief, it's training the belief and acting from that place, from that future place versus the present, that moves the needle. So there is a very specific 7-figure mindset. And if you want to get from where you are now to think like a 7-figure business owner that has skyrocketing sales, that has dynamite delivery, that has raving fans, I want you to put in the chat, I want this. I want this. Because you're the kind of person that isn't going to continue to do the things that you've always done and expect a different result. You're the kind of person that is the big dreamer, that is wanting to make the impact, and you are done with income plateaus and entrepreneur glass ceiling. So in the chat, I want you to write, I want that. Because if that is you, then just like Lillian, when she was at zero, she was literally in that, I call it the struggling, hustling solopreneur washing machine, where, don't you know, like when you're doing your laundry and you're doing the washing machine, especially if it's a front load, it's like you just go round and round and round and round and round, and you start right, or you end up right back where you started from. Doesn't it feel like that sometimes? You take a few steps forward, a few steps back. Again, chasing strategies and tactics, when 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs know that it is not strategies and tactics that actually get you to scale. You need a strategy, but it's the core, what we call T-bar: think, believe, act, results. Think, believe, act, results. In other words, they're thinking differently. And so you need to know, what does a 7-figure entrepreneur think about lead generation? What does a 7-figure entrepreneur think about money and how money is and what money does? What does a 7-figure entrepreneur think about creating an irresistible offer? How does a 7-figure entrepreneur think about sales and how they skyrocket sales? Does this make sense? So we got to get you out of the washing machine of this broken belief pattern that keeps so many people buying courses and buying books and buying things and learning more, hoping to get out of the spin cycle. Or like Lillian, you could say, okay, I've listened to you for long enough, Shannon. I've listened to your podcast. Who listens to the podcast? Write podcast down below. If you listen to my podcast, we're actually about to rebrand. I'm very excited about that. And we're going to really focus in on helping you think seven figures. And so this live event that's coming up in September is a challenge, and it's all around teaching you. It's a live video series and additional live trainings where I'm going to be breaking down for you these thinking patterns that you will need to have in order to scale, in order to get off the income plateau, to stop looking through the entrepreneur glass ceiling and finally have explosive business growth. And so she was listening to the podcast and she's like, okay, Shannon, I need to be in your coaching program. So we have a coaching program that does exactly that. We train you to think like a seven-figure entrepreneur through the lens of the brain science of success. We teach you how to build a success pathway in your mind, remove the blocks that are getting in the way, and automate those things to belief. And when you do that, just like every 7 and 8 figure entrepreneur in my masterminds agreed, when you have that installed and automated, that's when the business takes off, because you're no longer thinking about leads like you're not the expert and no one can listen to you or nobody knows you. You're thinking from the place that you're known, you're seen, you can help, you can support. There are so many details in around money, lead generation, offers, sales. How do I become known in my niche? These are all key mindsets that if you don't have a 7-figure version of that installed, you will stay stuck. So it's urgent, right? Urgent. If you get the idea that stop chasing strategies is right now, you're going to say, I'm done with that. I have enough strategies for a millennia. And I'm going to say, I am going to be done with it. I'm going to actually learn how a 7-figure entrepreneur thinks, believes, and acts. TBA, thinks, believes, and acts around these key movers in an online business so that I can have explosive growth too. And here's the great news. You ready for the great news? And then I'll tell you how Lillian's story ended up. The great news is, okay, I get so excited about this. This is the brain science of success that just jazzes me the heck up, because I'm a step-by-step girl. If you give me steps, I'll follow them and I'll get the result. Anybody else write step-by-step? If you're like, I'm a step-by-step person. So that's why I gravitated toward the science behind achievement and the science, and put together the NeuroCoach model that we certify coaches in and coach through, because the brain is your vehicle that creates everything. If the vehicle that's driving does not have the right GPS, you will never end up in the place that you want. So this step-by-step idea around thinking like 7 figures allows you to, and I was just about to say the best news of all. The best news of all is, okay, ready for this? This is a skill you can learn. This is a skill you can learn. Now, all of us lifetime learners that are still in the washing machine, that is great news, because that's exactly why I'm holding this live event in mid-September. I'm literally working on it right now. You can kind of see a little bit of what I got mapped out, but the core of it is helping to unhook you from the beliefs that are going to keep you in that washing machine of plateaued income, frustration, and then more imposter syndrome, more overwhelm, and feeling like you don't deserve it, feeling like you don't know what's happening and what step to take next. We got to get you out of there. Because remember, 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs know that strategy, more learning, yes, skill acquisition, that's different, but learning, and just for learning's sake, for a new strategy over and over and over again, it's just keeping other people wealthy and you stuck. Now, here's the thing. In the live event, we're going to be breaking down for you everything you need to know. I've got a video series, and then I've got live trainings that are going to happen. So I am going to my goal, my aim is to give you so much for free that you are absolutely have a game plan. And then, of course, you can coach with us for implementation. But here's the thing. I know 7-figure entrepreneurs think differently about who they are in the marketplace. I know that there's a different mindset for 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs about lead generation. I know that there's a different mindset around how to sell. I know there's a different mindset around their offer and how to offer and their irresistible offer and what they offer. I know that there is a different mindset for 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs around dynamic delivery of their offer. I know these key 7 and 8 figure mindsets that you haven't learned, and we wonder, why isn't it working? Well, you can't drive if there's no GPS, right? So strategies are just strategies. They don't tell you how to think like a 7-figure entrepreneur. So we're going to be breaking that down. I'm working behind the scenes, working on it really. This is going to be one of the, I believe, the most powerful, the most generous live events I've ever done. I think our first day for it is so right around September 11th or 12th, in that ballpark. And I'm working on it feverishly for you right now. But I wanted to come live and brag about one of my clients. She started at 0 30 days ago, the 0 potential clients. And we've got her up to 3. She just posted this morning, 320 potential clients. And she's on calls already, closing those clients into her coaching program. What shifted for her? And I started telling you, she listened to the podcast. She finally said, I need to get in your coaching program. So she got in and she learned how to think like a 7-figure entrepreneur. She learned to remove the blocks that she personally had. By the way, your blocks aren't the same as everybody else's because you have a different environment. You have a different parents. You have different background, right? The great news is the brain science of eliminating broken patterns allows you to go after your specific pattern and move it for life. The only thing holding you back, it's like putting your foot on the gas and putting your foot on the brake at the same time. You're driven. You're a go-getter. You're going to do what it takes. You already are. You're in the washing machine because you're learning. You're not sitting on the sidelines. That's great news. But we got to take and shift your focus from what doesn't work to get scalable sales, scalable results, to shifting it over to what every 7 and 8 figure entrepreneur knows, that they need the core element of mindset and belief. And I'm going to break down step by step what is that and how you can install it, how you can train your brain to allow yourself to have the 7-figure mindset around money, around sales, around being enough for the market, being the expert enough, all of those key components. We'll do that live together in the event. Lillian's so stoked because she really finally said, I'm going all in. I'm removing the blocks. I'm building belief. I'm going to automate it. Now there's a process of automation. Just saying, I believe, and then repeating the old patterns, you're just going to stay stuck. So she worked and trusted the process of our NeuroCoach model, and she went all in and she trained her brain to have limitless leads and started to really think and have the mindset of a 7-figure entrepreneur around leads specifically. And she went from 0, nobody, crickets. Some of you are in that Cricketville, right? To 300 active, engaged potential clients within, I say 2 weeks, because it took her a couple weeks to absolutely go all in. And then once she did, she was able to install that 7-figure thinking around leads. So tell me in the chat, what do you think you need a 7-figure mindset around? Tell me in the chat, what is, if I could just have a 7-figure mindset around fill in the blank, I know my business would grow. I know I could advance. I know I could have, my success would be inevitable. Tell me that in the chat. And again, I love bragging about the results that people get once they take their focus off what doesn't work and they stop doing that, stop sitting in the washing machine, and they come in and they get coached or get certified and they learn the 7-figure brain. They learn how to think the exact same way. Remember, this is a skill you can learn. And as it gets automated in your thinking, your actions stay aligned with that thinking, and therefore your results become inevitable. Your results become inevitable. Yeah, so Ashley says she needs a 7-figure mindset around trusting her abilities and decisions. That's key, right? knowing what to do next and that you're able to do it. This is a key area of a seven-figure mindset. So this challenge coming up, and here's what I'd love for you to do. If what I'm talking about is starting to click and you're like, I need to learn to think like a seven-figure entrepreneur, or my business will never grow to where I want it to. If you know that to be true, if you're like, wait a minute, if 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs say it's not strategy and I'm chasing strategy, tactics, and new, then I need to align with 7-figure and 8-figure thinkers. And I need to learn to think 7 figures, think to the next level about all these areas, and then it will explode. If you know that's you, I want you to put challenge in the chat, and we will DM you a special link to get in the front of the room for the challenge next month. So just put the word challenge, and I'll be excited to do that. Like I said, we've been working behind the scenes. I am working on this incredible live event because I believe it is your birthright to get to 7 figures. I believe it is your God-given calling to move the impact, the income, and the freedom into that 7-figure mark, because there are hundreds, yet thousands, maybe millions of people that cannot hear you or see you until you get to that place. And so it's vital. Like there's nothing more urgent. It's the only thing. It's the one thing that must get in your business training mind, is to think like a 7-figure entrepreneur about every area that moves the dial in your business. Once that gets automated through a process we're going to show you in the live event, once we brain prime that in, then now your thinking is like a Ferrari instead of a Pinto, right? I always say, like, the Pinto is like the washing machine. It's not, it gets you around, you try, it can get you from A to B, but it's not going to get you to the absolute destination. It's going to break down. So I'm excited about that. Now, Lillian is growing probably 10 to 15 new potential clients every single day because she's showing up like a 7-figure entrepreneur. She's delivering like a 7-figure entrepreneur. She has no more doubt about her expertise in the right next step. And now she is able to get the momentum that comes when you align your thinking with where you want to go. Here's the thing. If you aren't at 7 figures, you don't know the 7-figure mindset. So we're just trying harder, willpowering our way. No. Let's take a shortcut, shall we? Put shortcut in the chat. Like, let's take the shortcut. Let's not take years of the washing machine and hustle and pushing the boulder uphill. Let's take the shortcut of learning the learnable skill of thinking like a 7-figure entrepreneur and the levers that it takes to move and skyrocket your business. That's what my whole life's calling is about. I believe the more impact you have means the more money you make. Yes, the more impact you have, the more generational shift happens for you and for others. So it is our ministry. It is our calling to get to 7 figures and beyond. And I want to give you the shortcut to think like a 7-figure entrepreneur now, so that you can get those 6-figure and beyond results so much faster. All right, that's what I have. I just wanted to brag on one of our clients and talk to you about how fast it can go once you think like 7 figures. And I will see you again next week. I believe we will be live again on Monday. And like I said, if this challenge in learning to think like a 7-figure entrepreneur and all the main business levers of growth sounds like something you know you must have, then put challenge in the chat and we'll DM you the link to get in the room. You are welcome, Ashley. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye. All right, so that's a wrap on this week's podcast. As I said in the live, we have an amazing event I've been working on behind the scenes. And so down in the show notes, you have the opportunity to enroll, and I'm going to say it just like that, enroll for this training. This will be the most generous. You will learn more than you ever thought possible to move the needle in your business and have that explosive business growth. But here's the thing, you cannot remain thinking like you do now. We've got to help you think 7 figures. And so down in the show notes, make sure you get your seat. We also have an upgraded VIP package that will support you as well. And I'm very excited to be able to bring what I believe is my God-given calling, the message and the mission on my life, and be able to unpack it for you step by step in this live training. All right, so tell me what you think about the new podcast title. Tell me what you think about the training, and I'm excited to see you in Think 7 Figures Challenge. All right, that's all I have for you right now. Until next week on Think 7 Figures, get out there and start thinking like where you want to be. All right, that's what I have. Bye for now.